small demo of Audie, just kind of some of the basics. When you start out with them, the smaller the pen, the more control you have. So if things are going to go awry, when you're in a small pen, you can get control of everything pretty quickly. Best thing I could tell everybody to do is to work with your dog's natural skills and then use those to your advantage. So I'm just going to kind of show you the natural skills that Audie comes with. He is an Australian cattle dog or a heeler, but he is not just a push dog. He does not just go to the back and push. He wants to get around the livestock and balance or bring them to you. On stock that's not really broke, stock that's going to challenge him a lot, he'll be a little bit weaker on the fetch because he's got to confront every single animal and get it to convince to fetch to you. And if that's not how you've handled your stock in the past, you may have to change a few things up to get him working well for you. He does understand working with a person, so he understands to not push the stock past you, to not overpower your body pressure. But again, all these are things that can be changed for the dog based on how you use the dog. So if you're always asking him to push stock up on top of you or push him past you, or you're allowing that to happen, then he will probably revert to that, because these types of dogs, they like to push. When you start out, you can start out using a tool. You can use your body language if you want to, but using a tool, starting with a stock stick or a small whip, that's going to be low pressure. And then a flag will be medium pressure, and then something like a rattle paddle or a big rake will be higher pressure. When you use a stick or any kind of tool, you're not pointing the dog where you want him to go, you're blocking him from where you want him to go. So where you stand and where you put pressure makes a big difference. I'll work him a little bit with the stick first, and then I'll kind of show you his natural tendency and how you can work with that. And his natural tendency, like I said, is to go to balance, so go around the back side of the stock and bring them to you. All right, Audie. Stop. So like I said, if you are going to send him to the livestock, you're wanting to use this stick to block the way you don't want him to go. So if I don't want him to come into my space, I want to block him from coming this way, right? So if I block this, he should go the opposite way of that stick. And I didn't send him verbally, so that's why he's not going. But if I put pressure on it again, he'll go. He'll get to the back side of livestock. And when they're coming to me, he will balance. So he didn't stay at the butt. He went out to the front to catch the head. He's being a little bit pushy, so I'm going to put a little pressure on him. So I put pressure on him until he stopped. I do not say the word S-T-O-P. I put pressure on him until I get him to that to happen. And so what do? Is I step between him and the livestock. And I get the response that I'm looking for. So I want him to stop and look at me and say, oh no, what did I do? What can I do to help you? Once I can then release the pressure on him, step away and move back to a position where I can get in to where I'm ready to work my livestock again. As long as he stays there, we're in good shape. Every time he came forward, he's pushing. Okay, so I'm going to step in and take those stock away from him. Same thing. Now I'm going to block the way I don't want him to go. So I don't want him to come this way or on this half of the pen. I want him to go to the stock. So I'm going to block this half of the pen from him. Come by. Come by clockwise. There. When they're looking at me, then he can fix it. Everything he needs to do to get the stock to come to me. This is called balance. The stock are between me and the dog. I can still have a little influence on my stock. They're not running me over. They're not nervous. He's holding his side, keeping them from going back to the other pen. I do not need a command for this to happen for this dog. He does it naturally. He's going to start pushing because he's young, he's excitable, and he wants everything to be moving. So I just step in, I put a little pressure on him, I get him back to where he needed to be. As long as he's working the stock, he's not bothering them, he's holding them to me, that's his job. So if I move, he should move, because I never gave him the STOP command. I told him there, and then I pressured my stock a little bit to show him this is where I want him. Okay. So he's making them a little bit nervous. I could put physical pressure on him, and then remove that pressure when they're not nervous anymore. So if I move, he should just like work the opposite side of the clock to me. So if I go this way, and now I have my stock with me again. And if they're running off, I can put pressure on him to go to balance. Now if I move this way, I'm not giving him a command other than the initial send command and the there. So there means maintain the line that the stock are on, and usually in my case that line is for stock to come to me. So as long as the stock are coming to me, whatever he needs to do to maintain that, it's all good. If he gets a little pushy,